Financial year 2012-13 faced two problems. One is that economic growth remained lower than optimum, affecting revenue collection, which is so far below the budget. But the big challenge to the budget execution started here at the office of the Prime Minister, with billions lost. The result, donors cut back on aid for budget support, estimated at about $200 million. The people who sit here at the Finance Ministry had to work hard with less monies, forcing government to borrow more than 650 billion shillings from the domestic market through the banks.
What this does is you do have a lot of resources being diverted from the credit from the private sector into the government, and the net result is that you do have government taking a bigger slice of what would have initially gone into the private sector.
The government was tasked, among other things, to strengthen the office of the Inspector General of Government, tighten the processes by which public funds are accessed, prosecute those implicated in corruption, and refund stolen donor funds. These are conditions upon which donors would resume budget support.
An ordinary person wants to see what their taxes do. You don't want to get to hospital when you don't have drugs and they're telling you to buy them from elsewhere, and you've been paying taxes and you expect to have goodwill to pay taxes. Can government demonstrate that the revenues, either from tax or non-tax, is doing what it's supposed to?
By the donors withdrawing their support, it raises a key challenge for government.
I think this is a very good opportunity for the government to think about raising its own resources. If donors are not able or are not willing to continue to provide funds to Uganda at the same level that they were providing in the past.
But how should government grow revenue collection, or what some call widening the tax base?
We are losing money because of companies abusing policy provisions for tax incentives and tax holidays. We have an investment code that is so beautiful, but many are abusing it.
We believe, we're convinced that reducing the tax exemptions are going to help.
But government will not be rushed into removing exemptions.
Some of these exemptions are really intended to stimulate the economy. In the area of agriculture, it's meant really because the bulk of the people, over almost 70% of the people, are in agriculture. So agricultural implements come tax-free. The same with the industrialization. Industrial goods or equipment come tax-exempted. So this can be reviewed, but it needs to be reviewed in a proactive manner.
Could there be unstructured exemptions where those that must pay don't pay due to reasons more than economic?
When you tax the rural masses, the rural people, not the masses actually, the rural rich, that is where most of the votes are found. Partly the reason may not be that these people cannot easily be identified and taxed. It is where most of the votes that do not question the status quo are found. That's now a political question.
Plus, why are things budgeted for and yet they are not executed, like some roads?
The projects are put in the budget without necessarily the right analysis and appraisal beforehand.
In light of the donor cuts, government will cut back on projected external support to less than 50 billion shillings next financial year, from about 800 billion shillings this financial year. So the government and its citizens are expected to shoulder much of the burden of next year.
Domestic demand will have to make a larger contribution to the growth of output. A rebound in household consumption spending will be necessary to boost aggregate demand and real economic growth in the next fiscal year.
Government plans to spend on Karuma and other projects to stimulate economic growth. May the Ugandan government and Ugandans prepare to fund most of their budget through paying more taxes and spending more come July the 1st for the next 12 months.